Was such an odd one. Like, his films were so different. And he was a weird guy, too. He did, like, complex mathematics in his spare time.
I do complex mathematics in my spare time. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, he's a weird guy, but he was also, I think, thinking 3 steps ahead of everybody at any kind of given moment. I mean...
The director Stanley Kubrick, one of film's greatest yet most controversial figures, died today.
And A Clockwork Orange has died at the age of 7.
Eyes Wide Shut, the last film made by Stanley Kubrick, who died on Sunday.
Stanley Kubrick is often remembered as one of the most uncompromising directors in the history of cinema, a man who meticulously reshaped every frame until it met his impossibly high standards.
For Stanley, he's not going to stop until it's exactly the way he wants it, right, wrong, or indifferent.
How many films did Stanley make in his lifetime? Very few. He took a long, long time between the films. He was obsessed with those films.
What many people don't realize, though, is that for every masterpiece he completed, there were dozens of projects that never made it past his vast desk, weighed down with files, photographs, and obsessively detailed notes.
Stanley always admired Woody Allen for turning out every year a new film. I mean, it's wonderful. He would have loved to do it, but he couldn't. It wasn't his style.
He was a man of such varied interests that he was always busy and went through sequential obsessions. I would talk to him sometimes every day, and there were endless interests.
What he really wanted to make was a film about Napoleon, because Napoleon was someone he revered.
The legend of Kubrick isn't just the films he directed, it's also the films he never got to make. These unrealized works have become part of Hollywood lore, tantalizing cinephiles with what could have been grand epics, strange noirs, Holocaust dramas, and even children's stories that remained trapped in development limbo. Each abandoned project is a glimpse into the breadth of his ambition and the sometimes paralyzing perfectionism that defined his career. Kubrick's history with unrealized films began almost as soon as his directing career started. After MGM initially rejected Paths of Glory, Kubrick and his producing partner James B. Harris looked through the studio's library and discovered Stefan Zweig's 1913 novel, The Burning Secret. The story was controversial. A predatory aristocrat tries to seduce a woman by first winning the trust of her 12-year-old son, only for the boy to realize the man's true intentions. Kubrick loved the moral complexity of the material and even brought in novelist Calder Willingham to help with the screenplay, but the Hollywood production code, with its strict rules against depictions of sexuality and seduction involving minors, made the project impossible. For decades, the screenplay was believed lost until it resurfaced in 2018, nearly complete. That discovery reignited conversations about whether modern filmmakers could take Kubrick's early vision and finally bring it to the screen. Around the same time, Kubrick also considered adapting Willingham's novel Natural Child, but once again the censors stood in the way. These early disappointments set the tone for a career filled with frustration over projects too daring for their moment. No unmade Kubrick film looms larger than Napoleon. After 2001, A Space Odyssey, Kubrick envisioned what he promised would be the best movie ever made. He consumed every biography he could find on Napoleon Bonaparte, watched every existing film on the subject, and compiled a research library that dwarfed anything Hollywood had ever seen.
Success of 2001: A Space Odyssey, a success, which means that Kubrick had opportunity to do what he wanted. And what he wanted to do was Napoleon. Now, Kubrick was fascinated by Napoleon. He was this man who changed the political landscape of the modern world.
Stanley was always interested in things military, and I think he was very interested in those campaigns and so forth.
Assistants created a card catalog with thousands of entries detailing the movements and personal lives of Napoleon's inner circle. Locations across Europe were scouted, and the Romanian People's Army even pledged 40,000 extras and 10,000 horses for his battle sequences. Kubrick imagined Jack Nicholson in the title role, with Audrey Hepburn as Josephine. It was to be his definitive statement on history, power, and human folly, but timing betrayed him. Sergei Bondarchuk's War and Peace and Waterloo had just flopped, making studios skittish about another costly historical epic. The prohibitive budget demands ultimately doomed Napoleon, though Kubrick recycled much of the research into Barry Lyndon. To this day, cinephiles imagine Nicholson in full Napoleonic garb under Kubrick's direction, and Spielberg has spent years trying to resurrect the vision as a miniseries. Another long shadow is cast by Aryan Papers, Kubrick's haunting attempt to grapple with the Holocaust. In the 1990s, he adapted Louis Begley's novel Wartime Lies, focusing on a boy and his aunt hiding from the Nazis. Kubrick cast Johanna der Steege and young Joseph Mazzello, selected Brno in the Czech Republic as a shooting location, and brought on Elmer Regali as cinematographer. This wasn't just a concept, production was close, yet Kubrick found himself paralyzed. Spielberg's Schindler's List had just been released, and Kubrick felt his own film might seem redundant or overshadowed.
Kubrick determined to call his film The Aryan Papers, a reference to the documents sought by Jews in occupied countries to avoid internment.
The theory on which Hitler and the Nazis proceeded was that there was the Aryan race, of which they were the splendid examples, and non-Aryans, such as Jews, were a vermin-like species that, as was finally decided at Wannsee, should be exterminated. So if you got papers to establish you as a non-Jew, the point was really to establish you as an Aryan.
Aryan Papers is about a Jewish boy and his aunt trying to survive in Nazi-occupied Poland.
More personally, immersing himself in the material devastated him emotionally. His wife, Christiane, later revealed that the weight of the subject consumed him to the point where he abandoned the project entirely. He famously concluded that cinema itself might not be capable of doing justice to the Holocaust. The unmade Aryan Papers remains one of the most poignant reminders of Kubrick's limits, not technical, but human. Kubrick's imagination wasn't confined to history or tragedy. He was also fascinated by pulp and noir. Toward the end of his life, his longtime assistant Emilio D'Alessandro recalled Kubrick researching Pinocchio, determined to make a definitive version that would make children laugh. In another late spark of inspiration, he looked at the Battle of Monte Cassino, obsessively gathering newspapers and distances from stations, immersing himself in war research even in his final years. Even when his projects didn't reach fruition, Kubrick had a way of leaving ripples. His abandoned Napoleon gave birth to Barry Lyndon. His Holocaust research informed his view of cinema's limits. His fascination with AI and Pinocchio passed on to Spielberg, who eventually made AI artificial intelligence in his honor. His shelved noir treatments continue to attract new filmmakers decades later. What makes these lost films so intoxicating isn't just the subject matter, but the thought of Kubrick's touch applied to them. Imagine the cold, meticulous eye that gave us 2001 turned on the chaos of Napoleon's battles. Imagine his perfectionist obsession with authenticity capturing Warsaw under Nazi occupation. Imagine the surreal dark humor he could have brought to a meteor-borne virus wiping out humanity. Each project offers a ghostly alternate universe of cinema, a collection of masterpieces that never happened but still shape the way we think about Kubrick. Kubrick once said that what drew him to stories of war and crime was how they put ordinary people under extraordinary pressure, revealing who they really were. His unrealized films reflect that obsession on a massive scale, from emperors to con men, from Holocaust survivors to ordinary children. They remind us that genius often leaves as much undone as done, and sometimes the most haunting works are the ones that remain forever imagined.